Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm Mataullah Ahmadi, the research assistant at the Medical Research Center of Khatib University and the UCHEF Director for Research for Asia. Welcome to our today's webinar. We are very happy to have organized our today's webinar with the collaboration of my colleague, Mr. Yasser Issa, and Professor Said Hamid Musavi, the Director of Scientific Research Center of Khatib University. First of all, Professor Said Hamid Musavi will provide us an introduction, and he will talk about the activities that the research center has done, and then we will continue our program.
Thank you. Hi. In the name of God, I am Said Hamid Musavi, and my specialty is clinical biochemistry and an associate professor at the Faculty of Medicine at Khatib University. And currently, I am the director of the Scientific Research Center at Khatib University. At Khatib University, is recognized as a prestigious university in Afghanistan and operates as a research-oriented university in various fields. Khatib University Scientific Research Center, as one of the basic and active departments of the university, works hard to conduct various research. Having scientific research journal, research teams publishing textbook and curriculum, publishing authoritative article in national and international journal in ISI and Scopus Index. Scientific relation with national and international university, and many of its achievements are other activity of the center. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic caused a lot of problem. On the other hand, this pandemic caused us to have good international connections in the field of health. As the result of these scientific communications has been the publication of valuable article in the COVID-19 field. The article has been published in prestigious journal, including the Lancet journal, and on the other hand, has established good relation with high capable scientific people such as Professor Don. Due to the valuable work of two associates of Professor Don, Dr. Atta and Dr. Isar, the Research Center of Khatib University has introduced both of these people as research associates of the university, and has also offered long-term cooperation to these people. In this time, Professor Don, founder of Global Health Focus, tutor economic of global health policy, London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, will present a very important scientific seminar for Afghanistan, which will be very valuable for all of us. The title of this webinar is Role of Research in Achieving University Excellence. Will be one of the most fundamental topic that universities in Afghanistan needs more work in this area. Many thanks to Professor Don, and we hope to be able to do a lot of joint research together. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor. We are very proud to have Dr. Don in our today's webinar. As you know, doing research is not only advantageous for the researchers, but also the university or the institutions where the researches performed or conducted. So because of this, we invited Professor Don Presno. Professor Don Presno as my mentor, and he is the director of Global Health Focus and also the managing editor of Journal of Global Health Research and Policy. We are very proud and happy to have you in our program, Professor. We want to hear more about this important topic from you, Professor.
Thank you very much for the invitation to speak before the audience of Katab University and other participants in this webinar. I do understand this is something very important for all of us. I am into higher education, and I'm also into research. I have been and I still am with universities. I'm actually with a number of universities in the world. I am affiliated, aside from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, I have visiting positions in university in China, in Taiwan, in the Philippines. It is because of my work. But I think what is more important for today's session is my background also on being the managing editor of the BMC Global Health Research and Policy. And my recent position for the past 2 years, I have been the country director for a global think tank. It's a research center. And I was a country director for the Philippines for 2 years, and I handled a big portfolio of research here for the region. So I'm going to combine all these experiences and try to relate it for the topic for today. And I'm very cognizant of the fact that Katab University, this would be very important, not only for your university, but also for the universities in Afghanistan. As we all know, and as I will show later on, we will put research central in our discussion because it has a lot of implications. And I have traveled globally, more than 50% of the world, and seeing universities, having spoken in many universities all over the world and in major conferences. And it has always been central to my work, where I push for real improvement of university work and how research can be a major part, and it has always been a major part of the work us as researchers, as professors, and also the bigger role of the university in national and global development. I would like this presentation to be a bit informal. You can ask questions while I'm speaking, that's fine, or I will look at the chat. And I understand this being recorded, so it's good to be presented this again in other fora of yours. And I will start by presenting my slides. Can I be able to present my slides? The one who's handling, okay, now I'm the host. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to present my slides for today. And so our topic is, what exactly is the role of research in achieving university excellence? I do understand that Katab University is the top university in Afghanistan. But I think it doesn't mean that we have to stay at this level because there is a bigger world where we have to compete. I am connected, I'm very proud to say, with the top universities of the world, but my heart is really towards the development of research and excellence of universities in low and middle income countries, because my work is in the field of global equity. We should provide more help and we should provide more assistance to universities in the low and middle income countries because that is where the global burden of diseases are. And that is where more help is needed, particularly with the country of Afghanistan and other low and middle income countries. So this is the framing of what I am doing and also with my work. So why is it necessary that we have to bear in our minds that the university should embrace the concept of excellence? And how is it to be an excellent university? We can always say we are the best in the country. We can always say that we are excellent in within our region. However, we don't stay there forever because there's always a lot of competition. And why do we have to compete, or is it necessary to compete with other universities? And we will try to answer this. And so we will focus only on research, but we will tie it up with the other aspects of university functioning on how we can achieve university excellence by using research as the path towards this goal. And so we ask the question, what is a good or excellent university? I'm sure you have ideas of what a good university is. Most of the time, we rely on global ranking. Is it the top university of the world? Is it the top university within our country? That could be one of the bases for being credited as a good or excellent university. And we can also say that that university is good because they have good infrastructure. Their building is good, they have a good campus, and they have advanced facilities. So when you teach, it's an air-conditioned room with a good whiteboard and so on and so forth, with all the high-tech gadgets for teaching. We have the university research centers. We have the advanced technologies to do our research, whether it's laboratory. We have a teaching and research hospital so that we can say it's one of the best. So these are some of the markers of a good university. And people will talk about it, parents will talk about it, they will send their students to your university because there is quality teaching. But what exactly is quality teaching? And because we have excellent faculty members. And why do we say these faculty members are excellent? And there are many ways to determine. Either they published, which is our topic for today. You wrote books. You have a lot of publications in terms not only of original research articles, but also you published books, or you have edited it, or you write in major newspapers and major international websites, so on and so forth. Or some of you will become national scientists or even Nobel Prize winners. And so in some ranking of top universities of the world, they would mention Nobel Prize winners within the university as part of the ranking. So these are the things we have to have in mind on how to define what is an excellent university. And then we have smart students and graduates who contribute to the society. Are we producing the top university, the graduates of the country, where they become the ministers or they become the president of the country? Because these are also indicators. Do they become the top CEOs of the corporations within the country? And so all of this define what a good or excellent university is. So I think later on, probably we will go through more further detailed webinars with the academic committee of the university. I'll be happy to help you on this, on how we come up with some of these definitions and translate it to actions. Having been working in the academe for almost 3 decades now, being part of different committees, these are all the discussions that we have and all the guidelines that we develop, especially with with very big, well-financed universities. And when you have a good reputation as an excellent university, you actually attract smart students. That is one thing. It becomes a virtuous cycle. No matter how much expensive a university is, like Harvard or Yale or Stanford, especially the American universities, people will still tend to go to universities of such caliber, and they are willing to pay. Because remember, the willingness to pay is not because of the expense, but it is because of the branding of the university. And so it adds up to the income of the university, and therefore it strengthens more the university because they can provide higher salaries to top caliber professors. So it becomes a virtuous cycle. And so it is not negotiable then that there is no way that we can compromise that the path is really towards becoming a good or excellent university. That is the only path, nowhere else. And so other universities will be defined as good or excellent because there is a lot of research knowledge that is transferred towards actions or towards products or towards many innovations within the country. For example, if your research would produce products, therefore the technology can be transferred as commercial products, and it will be an income to the university. So this is what happens with many of the vaccines that we have with COVID. If you will notice, it is being done with the name of Oxford University, with the name of top universities of the world, because the income from this research and the royalty will go back to the university, and it will become a continuous income forever as long as there is royalty. So this is being done by the top universities of the world, where a number of their products are being transferred as technologies to commercial companies for commercialization. But it's not only with products, it can be with methods, it can be with some knowledge. For example, coming up with issues with the way we govern some groups or organizations, or leadership methods which are being sold as ideas. So these are transferred as technologies or knowledge. And then we have what we call, are we a world-class university? What is it to be known as a world-class? Or is it possible for a university from Afghanistan to be a world-class university? Definitely it is, because it is now being done in many countries from low and middle income countries. We all know that China before was still lagging behind in terms of economy. As the country got richer, now its universities are now in the top of the world. And same thing, I'm happy to announce that even universities now in Bangladesh, in Vietnam, they are now in one of the top 100 universities of the world. And so it is always possible that Afghanistan universities and Katab University will become a world-class university. Being a world-class university would attract a lot of collaborations. And collaborations will bring in more income to the university. And so if you know, Afghanistan is one of the important countries in global health. We always focus on Afghanistan because, sad to say, of course, it's because of the burden of diseases and all the determinants of health and all the issues of health, which to some extent we have to strategize at Katab University, because this will be our link with the rest of the world when they bring in the collaborations. Everyone is interested to do research on peace and development. Everyone is interested in doing research on conflict. Everyone is interested in doing research on polio, because Afghanistan is one of the last countries having polio. And we very well know that funding organizations put a lot of money on Afghanistan. Therefore, what we have to do is strategize that Katab University will be the one getting all this funding. 30% of funds, or even up to 50% of funds, would go to human resources. It goes to payment of salaries. It goes to investment on laboratories. And once buildings and laboratories, research centers are transferred to the university, after the research is finished, then you will own this infrastructure. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is there is a lot of opportunities for the university if they will embrace full blast research and have the right collaborations and connections. And of course, what is more important is the role of research in the bigger world. It would contribute to the development of the country and beyond. So our learnings on polio eradication in Afghanistan, if we document it, if we partner with UNICEF and all the other organizations doing the program, then therefore it will be part of the ownership of Katab University in terms of the data of the research. But are we involved as a university in all these programs by these international funding bodies? Maybe yes, maybe no. But I know very well that there are a lot of researches being done. So we ask the question, how can we penetrate all these research organizations, all this research funding, when it is for the benefit of the university? And also, therefore, this will translate to having the university having an international outlook. So what is the advantage of an international outlook? Ranking of the universities in some ranking organizations, 20% will be on the international nature of the university. So what are these? It means you hired faculty members from abroad, whether they are adjunct faculty. So you give them positions, you invite them, and some of them, of course, are willing to pay their travel. You have collaborations with international universities where they will send their students for exchange programs. And of course, they are also willing to pay for hosting this. So there will always be a business model for collaborations. These are not free, and students and universities are willing to pay for this. So this is what we have been doing in the big universities. And mind you, the big income of the university is not from the tuition fee of the students. It is on these projects and researches, not on tuition, especially at the London School of Hygiene. I should have shown you the next time I can do more detailed strategies because we just have 1 hour, and I will provide you more information and the detailed strategies in terms of funding and financing and how you will benefit from these international collaborations and how you will hit all the targets of becoming an excellent university. So you have all the data for research within the country. That is very sure because I have been publishing on Afghanistan. My journal has been receiving a lot of manuscripts on Afghanistan. And we know very well that there are many challenges and issues, which is very good for us because that means we have a lot of work. The only question is, how do we get funding for all these challenges? Okay, so what makes universities top universities? I already mentioned a number of them. And why all these universities very high? And everyone wants to go there, even if their tuition fee is very expensive. For example, to do a Master of Public Health at Harvard University would cost us for the tuition fee I think it's now between 75,000 US dollars for 1 year to 100,000 US dollars. That is just for the tuition fee. And we compare it with tuition fees in low and middle income countries, when in fact, the things being taught are exactly the same. We read the same books, we have the same lectures, we have the same subjects. Why these universities can charge this much? And of course, living at Boston would be 120,000 US dollars for 1 year program. But people are willing to pay these top universities. Okay? Can we do that? Yes, we can. Eventually, for example, at BRAC University in Afghanistan, in Bangladesh, MPH is 20,000 US dollars. For some programs in medical universities in Kyrgyzstan, their tuition fee are just as much, 10,000 US dollars. So therefore, if Katab University will be accepted as an excellent university in the world, then therefore you can attract more international students. And mind you, if you have all these health challenges, it is better for a student who come from other countries to study there because their skills will be much better because they see all the health problems. That will be your selling points. Medical students from the US do not see schistosomiasis. They do not see polio because there's none anymore. They do not see many tuberculosis patients, or they do not see other kinds of patients infected with infectious diseases. So that is also one of the selling points of your university in the future. And these universities, such as Harvard University, they are actually willing to provide scholarships because in the future, these people who are given full scholarship will eventually be the ones to put in more money to the university. So that is the reason why the School of Public Health of Harvard is named after a rich man, because he donated hundreds of millions of US dollars. So this is the long-term strategies of universities. That is the reason why we also have to do this kind of investments. And we will eventually learn this in how we will strategize our research center. I have been with the University of Liverpool for 10 years, and we're part of the Russell Group. So imagine Russell Group, all these top universities of the United Kingdom, produce all 2/3 of UK's world leading research. So I did my PhD at Cardiff University, and I even applied to some of these universities. I got shortlisted, and I eventually joined University of Liverpool prior to this current job. And the reason why these universities are really high ranked because they produce all the researches, and for every research, they have a lot of income. As I mentioned, big part of the income of the universities would come from research. So that is why a big research program will be able to hire 100 or 200 research staff only. In fact, in British universities, professors do not teach. Professors are there to lead research groups. Unfortunately, in the low and middle income countries, professors are the ones doing the teaching, but not in these universities. Because professors are called professors because they lead research groups, whether it's antimicrobial resistance, or polio, or health systems, or governance, or conflict. The junior faculty are the ones doing research. So at Harvard, if you don't have research money, you will be the one teaching. That will be your role. In fact, you will go to the cellar, you will change your rooms because you are not bringing in money. And professors in universities in the West, they are ranked because of the income that they bring to the university. So for example, as of now, I have incurred an income of $3 million US dollars plus my work with a research center. And that is the beauty of research, because as you bring in more income, you can hire more people and you produce more. That is the reason why most professors in the Western world, they can pay for publication fees for Lancet 5,000 US dollars because it is embedded in the research income or in the research fund of the university. But I will teach you how to strategize on this as a university in the developing world, because there are always ways to answer issues and to address challenges. And these are the secrets that I have as an academic. I will only teach it with your university in the long run, because everyone just thinks of, top publications, but there are issues with top publications. For example, Nature will now charge you 11,000 US dollars for an original article. And we don't have that money. And of course, even people from the Western world, it's not their personal cash. It is from the funds that they have for their research. So there will, as a managing editor of a BMC journal, luckily for now, it still is free, but we actually have to pay BMC for every publication that we have that we accept for the journal. They say that as the university goes older, it gets higher in the ranking. To some extent, yes, this is true. There is truth to this, because one is, as you incur more income, you keep on producing. Remember, for example, I'm interested in writing a grant for the UK Medical Research Council for Afghanistan. Remember, research grants are for all universities of the world. Okay? That is one thing that you have to bear in mind. Research grants are focused on the developing world. And so that is where you have to strategize yourself. So let's say I'm interested in addressing all viral diseases in Afghanistan. I will come up with a proposal that I will set up a National Center for Virology at Katab University. Fine. We submitted the proposal, and it will be a 10-year, let's say, make it 5-year proposal. And the first year, I will put in my proposal a huge building, because I will set up all my laboratories and machines, which is part of the funding. So after 5 years, you will get the building, because you cannot return that building anyway to UK. And that building will now be your own building. So that is what you do. You come up with a genome center from a funding agency, and you have one building. And then you have a virology center, for example, from Japan. They love funding virology studies. And then you can come up with a cancer study center. Imagine how many buildings you can have after 10 years. That is the reason why, as you accumulate all these assets, including the machines, by the way, and the vehicles, and everything else that goes with the funding, will be transferred to your university. Thus, as the university ages or gets older, you keep on investing money from these research funds without even putting in money from your internal funds. So this is what I want to tell the administration of Katab University, that we should be very good in looking at where these funds are, networking with them, networking with the top universities where they want to do research in Afghanistan, and eventually use these assets to transfer to the university so that the university will enlarge, and in terms of assets, it will have more assets in the future. Okay? So this is what one of the things that this graph says. And therefore, as you improve and become more excellent as a university, you just keep on attracting more students. And that is where you can now ask for higher tuition fees because the expenses of a university gets higher. So that is how you will strategize. And knowing that the world, unfortunately, due to COVID, the economy of the world has went down. But now that there is vaccine, a globalized world is now richer. We have been getting richer and richer. Therefore, there are more students who are more willing to pay the tuition fee. And that is what we have seen in many universities. Like my university in China, University of Liverpool, China campus, we are the biggest international university, and our tuition fee is just as much as the campus in Liverpool in the UK. And we are even younger than your university, and we are now the biggest university in China. And you will see the campus. I will show a photo later on how it enlarged because of all this income. So income and the business model of the research and the university should always be central. Do not imagine things without a business model. As an academic, I am very practical with my approach to my work. I do not think of grand ideas if I do not know where I am going to channel the funds or where I'm going to get the funds. So that is probably another lecture we can have in the future, funding and financing research and university, because this will always be a big headache for your university, especially paying expensive professors. So in this figure, I'm saying that research can be the way by which you develop infrastructure. I already mentioned that on how. You increase your ranking. So how do we increase the ranking? By publications is one of the major channel. So publishing will always be one of the metrics being used, for example, by Times Higher Education. So they have a relationship with Elsevier, and Elsevier has hundreds, thousands and thousands of journals. And for example, Lancet is owned by Elsevier. And therefore, all these are interconnected. And I am very happy that the head of the research center is cognizant that Catab University should always be named in every publication of the university. So in fact, I would say learn how to game the system, learn how to play the game. So for every publication that Catab University will produce, I would say put in more authors from the university, because that will be, let's say, for example, 10 authors having the name of the university, and it will all go to interconnected with the H-index and ORCID, and also with the Web of Science, which is also part of the interconnectedness of all these systems of ranking. And then it will go higher to the ranking of universities. Okay? So then when it comes to faculty members, how can we hire expensive faculty members? How can we hire expensive faculty members? Because we want to have quality teaching. So quality teaching is also part of excellence of a university. And there's another training I can provide for the academe of the university on achieving quality teaching, because that's also one of my research areas and my training areas. And quality teaching also goes hand in hand with excellent faculty members. And we also recognize that teaching is one of the ways. In fact, research, we have what we call research-led teaching or research-based teaching. Those who teach better are those who are more knowledgeable about the subject matter that they have. So they are all interconnected. Though there are theories that argue this statement, that you don't have to be excellent in the research to be able to teach properly. Then, of course, ranking you have your reputation as a credible university because you produce the best and brightest graduates of the country. And I already mentioned how research goes hand in hand with the income and how all these research outputs translate to national development, and also it translates to the legacy of the university towards the national development and societal development. So by now, probably I'm able to provide you an overall framework and picture why research has to be embraced strongly by universities, because this is one of the least neglected areas of the universities, when in fact it can be the major income of the university only if we know how to do it. Okay? So some of the strategies which we can do, for example. So I lump together some of these ways by which we can achieve academic excellence. You have, as I mentioned, you have legacy, ranking, reputation. And I have found out recently that there is no, for example, WHO collaborating center in Afghanistan. A WHO collaborating center is a center where you can apply to the WHO, World Health Organization, and once you have that, the director and the university will get the stamp of being a WHO collaborating center or on anything under the sun, whether it's a WHO collaborating center on conflict and health, WHO collaborating center on social determinants of health, or cancer studies or occupational health. And once you have the logo of WHO, you can print it on anything or you can put it on the wall of the university, and that will be a good reputation for the university. So this is just one of the examples. But of course, you have to earn the rank of being a collaborating center. And then the director will be able to attend all the WHO collaborating center events, and that will be very, very prestigious to your university. So we can have another workshop on this. I think I've been mentioning many workshops, and that will be another strategy for the university. And all these strategies I've been mentioning will just feed to the ranking. And by the way, to be ranked by Times Higher Education or the QS World Ranking University, you have to apply. And so when you apply, you will now be included in the metrics and measurement. That is very important. There is an application for it. And therefore, we will be working with the library because the library will be the ones receiving all this ranking. In fact, the ranking will show how your different faculty members from the different departments are producing researches. We can have a competition from the different departments where at the end of the year, there will be the outputs from all these publications will be given to you. We do that in the university. We receive all the top authors from the university and we give them awards. And then we also give them the most cited because it's all done by all these ranking organizations, only if you apply as a university. So probably we will do that if we are confident that we have been hitting many of the top journals of the world, okay? So these are all interrelated and interconnected ecology of rankings, indexing, academic excellence, so on and so forth. So this photo is a picture of where I used to work, the University of Liverpool in China. Before it was just nothing. Now we can build, in China, you can build anything in 1 year. So if you say you want to build a center for environment sciences, so that's the building in front, the very front. And the long building is the business school. And they were all built in just 1 year. That's how fast buildings are. There is another strategy which many universities do. go to the rich people or rich companies. For example, at the white building at the back of this campus, so that's the South Campus, is actually the film center. A rich company donated millions of dollars to set up a center for film studies. So that's another donation from a company. And the tall building there is a research center. And I'm sure Professor Monsuvi would have to have his own huge research center building. That will be our ambition. So what I want to say here is that there are many ways to earn money through research to invest on campus. And that is the only way where we can really invest on infrastructure by getting all the networks. And that is the only way also wherein we can get the top professors, because we will make use of the name of these top professors because they are the ones who will lead the research grants. So as I said, it becomes a virtuous cycle where you keep on investing and you are actually bringing in more infrastructure, more smart students, more professors, and more income. So you see the whole infrastructure and the whole development of the strategy. And do not be afraid as a university, and you have to be very bold with your strategies. So that is the reason why many universities really can push boundaries and pull themselves much, much higher at a very, very fast pace because of some of these strategies that I mentioned. And we all know that we will all retire from universities. But eventually, the legacy that you will leave in these universities will be yours, will be named after you. The building name can be named after you because you left a legacy to the university. So I'm not going to go in more detail because we don't have enough time. I will provide more time for question and answer. So if you would like to ask some of the questions, I will be very happy to answer. And if you want to type it, I was asked that the last minutes will be for question and answer portion. Okay, so you can start typing your questions, or Ataula can mention the questions if you have. So the floor is now open for questions.
Thank you very much, Professor. Now, I think Mr. Shafawi wants to say something, and you want to hear from him.
Can you hear me, Mr. Ataula?
Yes, Mr. Shafawi, you can talk now.
Thank you very much. Hello, Professor Dal. I am Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administration at Khatib University. And beside, I am the co-chair for Stay in Afghanistan. Stay in Afghanistan is a network for UN Sustainable Development Solution Networks. So really, I'm impressed by what you talked, and let me thank from our team, particularly Dr. Musawi, for the hard work he do, and then linking university with the great people in the world like you. So really, I was impressed with what you discussed here. Many opportunities available in Afghanistan. For example, if you talked about the research, really research is weak in Afghanistan in the context of Afghanistan. So it is good that Khatib University is started. So let me tell you that inside Khatib University, we have a specific project policy for the research. Where researchers want to work with Khatib University, there is room for them to collaborate with us. So we can share that policy with you so that to enable both of us, you and Khatib University, in our team, to work together on the projects, like whatever you discussed, from funding up to this WHO funding center. And I hope that in the future we will have more discussion on this. So let me discuss more about Khatib University. So in Khatib University, we are the host for STS in Afghanistan. You can read about that. So that enable us to have a broad opportunities in the area of research, teaching, and that enable us now to be in partnership with the world universities to work on the teaching and the research. So that is good. So we started very good. So so I'm happy that now we are in link with you. And recently, Khatib University is the only private university from Afghanistan which became part of a new USAID project. So that project is called Advancing the Universities in Afghanistan. So that will enable Khatib University and our team that for the next 5 years be to be part of that project and work with 2 US-based universities, University of Minnesota and Massachusetts. So these are the opportunities which we have here on our side in Khatib University. Really, I'm happy that we are linked with you. And actually, yesterday I was reviewing your profile, your activities, and in your Facebook. And I don't know, I sent you a friend request too. So I was impressed by what you do, and it's great that you've shown interest to support universities, especially in developing countries. Really, universities in developing countries, particularly in Afghanistan, require support of big people, big professors like you, because you discussed about teaching-based university, research-based university. Afghanistan, unfortunately, we are not even in the overall. If I discuss the generations of universities in Afghanistan, even they are not a good teaching university. Forget about research, which is a tough thing. So lots of opportunities are available in the research, and great to hear that. So myself as a Vice Chancellor here, so I will discuss the result of this great initiative and this great seminar which you have taken with the Chancellor. So we will come back to you, and I would like to thank you again and again for the opportunity and for the time you have given and discussed how to become an excellent university from many aspects. So thank you, Dr. Musavi, and thank you all the team. So have a great time.
Very much, sir. Now I think Mr. Roin wants to talk, and he has a few questions from Professor.
Unmute, Mr. Roin, yourself.
Okay. Now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Mr. Don. Thank you, Mr. Don. It is a nice opportunity for being with you, and we got many things from your speaking. I am Rohullah Roin, head of the quality assurance at Khatib University. Khatib University has got a good position in Afghanistan, and we have got the top-ranked university in Afghanistan among all private and public universities in Afghanistan from the Ministry of Higher Education. And our vision is to be a good university in the region. And also we know that the good way and the easy way is to get our vision is through research. The ranking system which you mentioned, the Times Higher Education and QS rankings, all this, the most important point is given to the research. I think near 70% of the points are given to research. So in universities like Khatib, in the situation in Afghanistan, it is, I think, there are many difficulties. We have to build our infrastructure, and we have to have a good income, and also capacity building is needed there in order to do research. I want to ask Mr. Don that what are the easy ways for universities like Khatib University to have a good research in order to enter this world university rankings in a shorter time? with regards to the situation which we have, although our colleagues are working hard in this way to have good research, and some papers are published here, but we know that there are still many ways to go. But if you have some comments in this regards, how to get our vision in this way. Thank you, Mr. Don. It was a very good time being with you.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. That is a very good question. And so my advice is, one, have short-term strategy and then have the long-term strategy. For the short-term strategy, we just have to game the system or learn how to play the system. One of which is publications, because as I mentioned, they are all interconnected. So have as many lecturers, even students, keep on producing papers and papers, whether it's commentary or original papers. And there are hundreds of thousands of journals, but we try to get the ones which are Scopus or PubMed indexed. The good news is Afghanistan is free in most journals of the world. So they are always waiting for your papers. So one is, for the short-term strategy, just keep on pushing the faculty members to keep on producing papers and papers. Just flood the journals with papers, because that is one of the metrics that they want. And then we have to monitor them, incentivize those who are producing. For the long-term strategy, I think the research center should really train the faculty members to write grants. Because once you write grants, that was my work for 2 years as the country director for a think tank. It's a New York-based think tank. And there are so many grants that we cannot write anymore because there's left and right. Everyone is just calling us to get, and we are talking here of grants worth $1 million US. Remember, tuberculosis is not in Europe. It is in countries like Afghanistan or the Philippines. And 1 million is a lot of money. I'm going to tell you, it's difficult for me to consume $1 million project, and then they have to dump it because the Gates Foundation wants to finish the project as soon as possible. So you have to buy that, you have to hire people, and hiring people will actually convert into manpower for the university. You have the secretary, project manager, you have a researcher, and these are all salaries. Remember, I always want you to have a business model for any action. That is very, very important. I'm a very practical person, having managed research centers. Without money, you cannot work. You cannot let these people work for free. In fact, to hire the best human resource, you have to pay more. Therefore, a good institution should have a lag period of 5 years. What do I mean by that? You should be already thinking of the 6th year, not for the next year. So that means your budget is intact for the first 5 years, and you are thinking of the 6th year, and so on and so forth. So that is how to strategize as an organization. So that will be the long-term strategy. We have many indicators. Let's say we have 10 research collaborations. I am okay with that indicator, but I do not use it as a major indicator. Why? I can have 100 collaborations, but if our vice chancellor for finance here, it would say it does not translate to cash, I will not count it. I think you will agree that collaborations should translate to income, because that income will translate to research. So these are the little things that you have to understand. Do not dream and wake up with nothing. You have to dream, but you have to have actions. So those are just examples, short-term and long-term. There will be many more. what we can do is, as I said, I'm a practical person. Do not let this webinar just stay as a webinar, because once you go home, you will forget it. Translate it into actions, and I'm willing to sit down with you to translate everything into actions. And then you will say, Don, we have this research proposal. It would need $500,000 or $1 million. Of course, it's funny to ask, where can we get $1 million? It's not funny when I say, I know where to get it, because that is my role as someone who helps. Because there are so many foundations. Let's say I'm interested on human resource development of Afghanistan, but we need 5 training rooms. Of course, that means a small building. Where can we get that? All I have to do is tell you where, prepare the proposal, the chancellor will sign it, Professor Mosavi will sign it as the head of the research center, and we send it to a funding agency. Of course, we present it. You have a very good website that's already there. You provide your accomplishments that's already there. What is lacking is who are your manpower as researchers, because the background of the information of the faculty members are not on the website. How can I trust you as a funding agency if I don't know who are the people working in your university? So be very cognizant of little things. Because I'm sure you want to know who I am before I speak before you, which you admitted that you want to check me, because that is part of the nature of the funding agencies. So these are little things which you have to know. And eventually, even the buildings that you have, the good structures that you have, it should be at least transparent to the funding agency. As I mentioned, the world is rich now. All the foundations are willing to give money. All you have to do is to ask how much money we want. So you have to target it for this year. How much research income should we have? Not number of collaborations without cash. If I'm your chancellor, I will be very strict. Like, we can. So if you say we have a collaboration with a university in the US, okay, fine. Paper is okay as an indicator. Remember, we have many indicators for projects. What I'm going to ask from the person who is the head of that collaboration is, will there be an income to the university for this? And I'm going to teach you now how to make an income. For example, it's a polio project. Let's say we ask $100,000 because, again, this is my work. I always tell my program managers that 30% of the 100,000 will go to overhead. What is overhead? That is the income, 30%. Good if you can make it to 50%. What will I do if it's let's say it's $1 million, 30% is overhead. That is $300,000. That is earmarked for nothing. That is where your savings is. And then that is not even human resource, because the $700,000, let's say 200,000 will be for human resource. And that human resource is actually the income for the professor. Therefore, instead of getting the income from the tuition fee, you get the income of 10 professors from that $200,000. Then you have another savings from your budget from the university. So that's already double savings. And then eventually, because you have to be very smart. As Afghanistan, when you apply for grants, you will put their international rate of the project investigator. So how much is an international rate? 1 month will be $10,000 per month. So you put there your top professor as the project investigator. However, you know that there's a rule that you don't give the $10,000 to the professor for a month. You give him the normal salary in Afghanistan. That's the third savings of being a project manager. So that is what I'm saying. There should be a business model for every paper that you do. Now, if there are collaborations, let's say they will send 10 students from a university in the US, charge them for overhead because there's always a fee for that. They always have money for all of this. These universities are rich and these organizations are rich. It's not their personal money. So do not be afraid of putting it on the budget. And so if you have many of these projects, 1, 2, 3 until 100, imagine how much the income of the university is. And then you just translate it to bonuses and also to increase the salaries of the professors. Okay? So those are some of the magic techniques in many. I know, I'm sure you know all of this. Probably I'm just repeating some of the things that you know, because these are the things that we know in our universities.
Thank you,
Okay.
Professor. I think time is over, but we will pick a question here.
Can I have one more question if you have time, Professor Musavi? Can I ask another question?
Okay, yeah. You may ask.
Sorry if Professor.
Sorry, he's excited with the webinar. We'll have another webinar for you, Professor Zia. Yeah, go ahead. Please do ask a question.
No. So if you just have an expectation, since you are involved in the research, one of the way which universities publish lots of research is arranging the conference proceeding. Normally these guys who are working, Mr. Royin who talked, and then Dr. Musavi, every year they have an international health conference they are arranging at Khatib University. The problem is that, yes, people are coming and talking. And they, in one of that I attended, and there are lots of research paper that which not published. So if you have time to talk about that or help our team in terms of conference proceeding, for example, if 2021, if we arrange that conference again, so how you can support that so that you found a publisher to come together with our team and then and arrange the conference and then publish it into Scopus journals. So if you have time, just if you give example and then you can help we expect you to help our team. So thank you very much for your time.
Oh, that's very easy to answer. Publish it in my journal. I will give you a free one publication. It's a Scopus journal. It's a PubMed Medline journal. And I have been doing this with my collaborators. So I'll give you a slot for publication of the proceedings, which will be translated into so that's one. I do that also with other countries where I participate in their conferences. For example, APEC-PH, Association, Asia Pacific Association of Public Health. We are doing that with their conference and also with Bhutan and also my conferences. We publish it as proceedings. And I can assist in some of your of the needs for fees, but do not waste your proceedings. Never waste it, because that's an opportunity which will go to waste if you don't publish it. I'm very good that you raised that, because that is the problem of many, that is one issue that is not addressed in many conferences. They talk, but they never print it. So it gets forgotten after some time and it becomes a waste. So again, business model and publish anything that is being said. Even this webinar can be published as a commentary or editorial by mentioning advancing health research towards excellence of universities in Afghanistan. As I mentioned, journals love Afghanistan. And unfortunately, those who are writing on Afghanistan are not from Afghanistan. That is what I have seen, even my publications in my journal. Thank you very much, Professor Musavi, for the invitation.
Thank you, Professor. We have one more question, although time is over. but I think the question is important.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Shabim Aref, 10th semester medical student in Khatib University, and also one of the researchers in Khatib Research Center. I'm working with Sir Musawi. We have some project that we are working on it, and I will be glad to have some project with you, Sir Dan. Now I have a question that what's the rule to have a good research project?
Okay, very good question. I know this is going to be a long answer, but I won't make it very long. And because that's another training program on research, you just have to make it simple. We don't have to answer the universe, the problems of the universe. If it is just understanding, for example, about like, for example, we had a paper when I learned that there was bombing in so I keep on monitoring what's happening in Afghanistan. When I learned that there was bombing of a hospital, I already told my team that, come on, let's write something about it and submit it to a Scopus journal. And we did. It was accepted because any event of Afghanistan is special. For you, it is not. But for me as a global health specialist, it is important. But for you, it's very simple. Then there was another issue on stoppage of polio vaccination in Afghanistan because of the lockdown. For you, it's ordinary. But for me, it's not. And for the rest of the world, is not. So my advice is, the best research is what you see as simple there, but actually it's very important for us, the journals. So reframe your thinking on what do you think these top journals want in Afghanistan or in the neighboring countries, because most probably it is very important. For example, during the COVID, everyone in Iran from Afghanistan went back home to Afghanistan. Nobody documented it. And it's a very important issue on migration as a part of the impact of COVID. For you, it's simple, but for me, it is something very, very important, because what you experience there, the rest of the world would like to hear, because they might know how to intervene. So my answer to that question, what is the best research? Think simple, but frame it from a very important perspective. And we can have mentoring on this for the research group.
We appreciate. It was very informative and insightful webinar for us, and I'm sure that many more people will be interested in doing research. And once again, we thank you, and we hope that we will have more webinars and this kind of programs. And I'm sure that Professor Said Hamid Musawi will help us conduct this kind of webinars in the future. Thank you.
Also, thank you so much, Professor Don. It was really insightful session talking with you. I know the things that you mentioned. I'm sure like it's a series of webinar. I would definitely appreciate you if you talk more about those funding grants, because I see you talk a lot about this on your feed as well. So I think that is one thing that we as at Khatib University have to do that, because there's so much opportunity for us. So I definitely appreciate you for your tireless effort for Afghanistan. Looking forward to working with you. Thank you so much for your time. So with this, we will end the webinar. Thanks everyone for joining us.